I was like a pretty on the track to being a professional dancer, and I quit when I was 17. And I had an English teacher in high school who ran the newspaper, and she was like, "You're a pretty good writer, why don't you, write for the newspaper?" I absolutely fell in love with it and decided that that was what I was going to go to school for. I kind of applied to whatever internship would take me at that point, and I wound up in the beauty department of Women's Health. And then my senior year, the editor that I had at Women's Health when I was in the beauty department put me up for a job with, it was called Bella Sugar at the time, but the website is now Pop Sugar, and for their beauty department. And I just kind of fell into beauty, and I spent the first 4 years of my career as a beauty editor before moving on to sex and relationships. Working at a company called Refinery 29 after Pop Sugar, I got hired as a beauty writer there. They liked the fact that I had a very voicey point of view when it came to beauty. The wellness editor at Refinery came to me and was like, "This sex content is doing really well that you're doing with beauty. Do you have something that is just purely sex and relationships that you would want to write about, not having to do with beauty?" And I said yes. I had been playing around with this story idea that was called "I May Never Find Love and That Has to Be Okay." Probably one of the more, even to this day, one of the more vulnerable personal essays that I've ever put out there. To this day, I still get emails about that essay. So after the success of that story, my editor-in-chief sat me down and was like, "So you're a sex writer now?" And that was kind of it. I just went from there. I had a column at Refinery 29, and then I got laid off in December of 2017. It was one of the most harrowing situations of my entire life. I wasn't expecting it, and I had so much of my identity wrapped up at Refinery. So when I lost that, I did not know who I was anymore. And then I took a trip to Paris in May for 2 weeks, and that was when it really kind of started turning around for me, and I just kind of learned acceptance, and I started writing for myself again instead of just writing for survival. It kind of sometimes be hard to put my personal life out there, but the reward is so great. I built an amazing little community around me online, and I get emails from men and women who are like, "Thank you for this. No one talks about this. I thought that I was the only person who felt this way." And it makes me feel less alone, and it also makes me happy to know that I'm making other people feel less alone. So I was lucky that some people who I had gotten laid off alongside got jobs at publications that wanted to hire me. My editor at Refinery 29 is now the wellness director over at InStyle. So she was invaluable, because now I write for InStyle with with regular consistency. I also had a lot of beauty contacts, and I had, again, a great reputation in the beauty industry, so I started writing beauty stuff again. And since then, it's just kind of been about putting yourself out there. The thing that I tell people all the time is yeah, I've been published by The Cut, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I will always be published by The Cut. So I pitch and I reach out the same way that everyone else does. It's a rat race. It's very dog eat dog in the freelance career, and I'm lucky now that I've been writing for these publications for so long that they'll come to me with pitches. But I tell people all the time, I'm that's the exception, that's not the rule. I wrote my first book. It comes out in July, which is something that I never thought would actually happen. This Playboy column has turned into me taking over the role as their Playboy advisor, which is a storied role for the magazine, which is incredible. My father says all the time that life is full of peaks and valleys, and so this was my longest, deepest valley. I feel like I'm climbing up a peak now.